Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Risk and Assurance Committee meeting for 19th of March 2026. We will start with our karakia, and please feel free to join in with me. Whakatakati ho ki te uru, whakatakati ho ki te tonga, kia mā kina kina ki uta, kia mā tara tara ki tai, e he aki ana te atakura, e teo, e hoka, e huho, te hei moriora. Do we have any apologies? I noticed the absence of two councillors. Councillors Frost and McCrosty. Does anyone know of they? Apologies? Or lateness? Or none of the above?
I think Mr. Frost isn't coming at all.
Okay, so we'll take apologies from those two at this stage. Do we have a mover for those apologies? Kennedy, Councillor Graham. Declarations of interest, nothing received at the top table. Is there any urgent business that anybody wishes to discuss? That is a no. There is nobody in the public forum. So can I take you to page 10 of the agenda papers? So the minutes from our last meeting, and we'll just do a page turn on these. Please feel free to yell out or put your hand up if there's anything you wish to discuss on page 10, page 11, page 12, page 13. Page 14, how's everyone getting on with the $30 breakfast?
Wheat bits and toast.
Should get change from that, shouldn't you? Page 15. Page 16 and page 17. Page 18. Page 19. Page 20, page 21. And pages 22 and 23. Do we have a mover? Councillor Catherwood, seconded Councillor Smith. All in favour? Carried. On page 24, my report. Let's talk to a couple of things. I take a fairly wide swing at a few things in the report today. The first one is sort of in terms of the CapEx delivery program, and it's coming out of national commentaries on picking up at audit forums, particularly at the moment, and that's around the completion or the importance of the need to complete, or let me start again, to adopt a program that we are able to complete with respect to CapEx. We remind ourselves that we are funding through our treasury, through our rating, both for the CapEx and then ultimately for OpEx as well. We also have community expectation of completion and use of these facilities. And when we talk about our risk model, for me, one of the risks is how do we explain to the community that something that they've been looking for won't be ready on time as it should have been. So when we look forward to our CapEx program for the 26-27 draft annual plan, one of the questions that you should be asking yourself and asking staff is around capacity to deliver, the impact, for example, of projects the current year that may well be transferred over because they're not finished. What pressure is that putting on staff? What pressure is that putting on our contractors as well? And we remind ourselves that one of the most effective ways to keep rates down is to only include those projects and the associated costs that we are going to deliver on with as much certainty as we possibly can. And we'll talk about that further through the course of the day. I also refer to elected member training, and I'd just be interested around the table to hear of any training needs that somebody might be. And I don't necessarily mean we write a cheque to go to a big conference in Wellington or elsewhere and fly up and stay in a hotel, but as much as using the knowledge that we have internally through key staff that we've got across the organisation, both in management and in technical areas, some of the externals such as myself. Welcome, Councillor McCrosty.
Apologies for late this.
Are there any specific training needs that anybody's picked up on so far around the table? Start with you, Councillor Smith. Anything?
Not, well, there probably will be, but just
Yeah.
being quite fresh and the portfolio system, Bruce and I've been meeting with Mike and that quite a bit. You don't know what you don't know. So probably, yeah, if there's people being around the table a bit longer, have had some good stuff, I'd be interested, but yeah, can't really answer the question to be fair.
Councillor Catherwood, anything?
I've never had a problem with the council as far as access to ask the questions that you want to ask to understand something. So those lines are open. So it's a matter of me making the time to go use that opportunity. So probably, yeah, to my off time, my off season coming up is to make more effort to go and answer those questions.
Yeah. Councillor Harrison?
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement with Councillor Smith. I think, yeah, we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
The best, so anything that comes my way will be gratefully accepted. So, yeah.
And I think as you're going through that learning process as well, just having the confidence and knowing who to talk to and knowing that there's a willingness to receive the phone calls and answer the questions as well. Councillor Kennedy, you've done this a few times before, I guess.
I have, but I do have one. and it's probably more on the finance side. Just trying to get your head around the pockets of money and who goes where and which pocket goes where. And it's coming up quite a bit in our portfolio meetings, but yeah, I just think, I was looking at Brendan's face there. I'm thinking, and it happens with community boards and other community groups that you belong to out there too, and making sure that our groups are putting in for the annual plans when needed and not being missed off, or and then people look at us and go, oh, you didn't remind us. All those little things. So there's a couple of those type of things we could be doing something on.
Thank you. Councillor McIntyre.
No, not too worried at the moment. Yeah.
Councillor Graham.
I too, like Councillor Kennedy, I don't struggle, but I could do with a bit more clarity around financials. I rely on the wisdom of a couple of people around here for their opinions, so I wouldn't turn down any help in that area.
Yeah, this is in terms of interpretation of.
Yeah, when it comes to the likes of the reports from, they change their name quite regularly, that sort of thing about swaps and the whole investment and.
Oh, Treasury side, yep.
Yeah. I'd welcome some help there.
Sure. And Greg's doing a presentation later on this morning, so maybe an opportunity comes forward to raise those questions again. Councillor Colton, how about you?
Well, firstly, I'm loving the portfolio system, and so as far as getting answers to questions, I haven't had a problem with that at all, and probably over a long period of time before as a council. So I'm not afraid to ask people for answers, and I do get them, but you can always upskill, so I'm open to doing anything that will help in any part of council. There's like a couple of others, I'm new here, so I don't know everything, and it's always good to learn a bit more about other sides of council, but I'm quite comfortable where I sit at the moment.
Thank you. Yeah, Martin.
Yeah, well, it's been one hell of a ride so far, and lots of learning. So, but there's internally with the staff and that, they've been really helpful with any questioning. So, and then there's all that external advice I get as well. So.
I guess the key thing is that the doors are always open.
Yeah.
So if anybody you need to pick up the phone and ask a question, pick it up and ask it. I make a comment on the IT system, which will come up later in discussions today. And I just pause and reflect, and we're all doing this both in our public and our private lives, just in terms of what's happening globally and what is the impact going to be locally. And I think we will, in the next few weeks, reach the pause and reset button in terms of what is the cost impact. We look at the rising price of oil. We know that will directly impact on the price of bitumen and also related activities that if fuel-based maintenance, they will continue to go up. We will reach a position where we will have to start to prioritise the projects that we undertake, because we're not in a position, we don't have the luxury of just adding that cost. We certainly can't absorb it because we're a cost recovery business, not a profit-making business. So just keep that flexibility just in terms of when the right time is to go through that exercise. No one knows what's going to happen or when it's going to happen.
And on that note too, Mr. Chair, we're working on a notice that goes out with the submission period, and we do touch on that about the cost escalations that we could be faced with. So front foot it with the ratepayer.
Yeah.
With the already projects that have started and stuff moving forward. So I'm going to be mindful.
I guess the other thing we remind ourselves is as the global price of oil comes comes down, the price that we pay will not come down as quickly as the price is going up. So that is my report. Any questions on other aspects of that? Not, I'm happy to move that. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Graham, all in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Item number 3, page 27. Welcome ye.
Morning, Koto. So our paper is on the protected disclosure policy and procedure. So the report just recommends the renewal of the protected disclosure policy and procedure as attached, as attachment A and B. Those are pretty much consistent with the previous one, but just a bit of an explanation on protected disclosure. So protected disclosure covers disclosures made under the Protected Disclosure Protection of Whistleblowers Act 2022. It is really to facilitate and allow staff, volunteers, elected members or governing boards to really protect them from making disclosures when they see or suspect serious wrongdoing. So it's there to ensure that people are free and capable and able to be supported when making those disclosures without fear of retribution, disciplinary action, or any form of discrimination. And as you can kind of, I guess, have seen previously, this has occurred in the public sector as well. So from that perspective, you'll see that the policy basically just covers what the legislative requirements are. The disclosure is in accordance with the definition of the Protected Disclosure Act. And then the various kind of procedures that you have to follow is set out in the attachment B procedure document. One thing I'll note is that the Protected Disclosure Act and policy covers disclosures made under the Act. So there is a formal process in making those disclosures, in the sense that you do have to reference that you are making a disclosure of a serious wrongdoing as defined under the Act and in the policies, when you're making such disclosures. So other than that, I'm happy to take the remainder of the paper as read and happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Ye. Is everybody clear in their understanding of what this is all about? Yeah. Seen it before, gives you the confidence. Councillor Kennedy?
So yeah, this also covers anything IT and that type of stuff too, doesn't it?
In respect of when there is serious wrongdoing that occurs in the IT space. Yes, so if you kind of have a look at under the definitions of serious wrongdoing, those are the categories that you're really looking at, which is an offence, serious risk to the maintenance of law, unlawful, corrupt or irregular use of public funds or public resources, oppressive, unlawful, discriminatory or grossly negligent. So it does have to hit a certain threshold. It's not just somebody kind of making a mistake, and it's not just something that kind of, if it's a performance related issue, those are not what's covered under this. This is really talking about serious wrongdoing. So for example, somebody's committing fraud, you suspect somebody is seriously having bullying allegations, assault allegations, somebody misusing, as you say, IT, but to a serious level, not just kind of, accidentally doing certain things. Yeah. So it does have to hit a certain threshold to come under the Act.
So we remind ourselves that this was first adopted in the year 2023. In the interim period, there have been no disclosures under this piece of legislation in respect to council. And what the recommendation is looking to renewing this for a further 5-year period. So comfortable?
So option 1, under the options, is the recommended option.
Yes.
That's correct. Yep.
5 years.
And you're moving that, Councillor Catherwood?
Yeah, happy to move that.
This is on page 27. Seconder is Councillor Cotton. Is there any further discussion? If not, moved, carried.
Thank you.
Sharon, page 37, work programme.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this, as you know, we added 2 new additions to the work plan for this year, the Southern Water Done Well and the central government legislation. And they will pop into our reports as required. Like there's nothing in this time about central government legislation because we are in a waiting phase. Southern Water Done Well, there's some commentary on that included in the category A reporting. The other things I think to note is that we have started working on our insurance valuations now. We've started filling out the forms and trying to get some quotes to bring to the April meeting so we get a bit of a heads up on what's happening there. And we have also been advised that we now have a new audit partner again. I'm not sure if I knew that last meeting. So we got a new audit partner last year, Pam, out of Wellington. And now we are getting a new one out of Dunedin called Mike Hawken. And so we're just at the moment lining up to meet him and go through that process. Other than that, I think I'll just answer any questions should you have any.
So on the meeting with the auditor, we're aiming for our April meeting, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Which will be before the interim audit, which will start in early June, I would think.
Yes, we still have those dates to set because we don't have our audit partner to set them.
So it's still the same company, Mike Hawker represents the same company.
Yes, we were originally going to get him, but then something happened internally for them and they didn't have the resource to do that, so we got Pam. So yeah, we've had her for the 1 year and now everything's settled for them and we've got Mike again. So yeah, Deloitte's appointed by the Auditor General and then from within they have to go to the Auditor General and get them to approve who the audit partner is for us.
So no forensic audit? No.
Other questions? If not, do we have a mover? Moved Councillor Kennedy, seconded Councillor Harrison. All in favour? Against, carried. Item number 5, Donna, welcome. And this is this month's deep dive that we're talking about on page 39.
Morning, everybody. So this report is identifying the risks associated with capital delivery. So I reviewed the last report that had been tabled and went through the risk areas associated with that and have been able to put together some sort of responses and updates of where we currently are. So our current risk controls that we have, our new structure is obviously being confirmed and in position now and complete. We do have most of the majority of the roles filled within the project management department. We do have a vacancy at the moment in the procurement manager role, which is a new role. And we also have a vacancy with a roading and facilities team leader project manager role. Currently, the team believe that with the current workload, though, that they can manage with that vacancy at this point in time, but we are looking at potentially going out to recruit for that over the next few months. The professional services panel agreement, that's actually been in place for about 18 months now. It is working successfully, where we actually have a broad range of 5 professional service panel providers with their associated team members as well, with fixed rates, panel rates. And we actually feed that across the organisation. So if other areas of the organisation are wanting professional service assistance, the first right of call, I suppose is the right way to put it, is through the panel. And those costs, even though, so for example, if Three Waters Operations are requesting the panel to assist with them, they provide the job code to expense it to, but it all comes through to the monthly claim. So we're actually keeping a really strong monitoring with evidence on what is being expensed by professional service panel. Whereas in the past it was distributed across the organ and people could have appointed panel, professional service providers and pay directly from their activity, which they still can, but we've now got that centralised suppository to actually oversee the costs associated with professional service panel work. Projects assigned to staff. This has still been an issue. Currently, as we've discussed previously, this financial year, we were trying to deliver 106 projects. As we've advised, this is unachievable. We presented a report to Council in December with a new strategic approach, which Council approved. So we're very thankful of that. Thank you. That'll be like a transition period over the next 12 months, really. The current projects that are in implementation will be closing and finalising to then reduce those numbers. And once the full waters projects are handed over to Southern Water done well, this will also reduce the number of projects assigned to the team. So there is still a risk there. Projects categorised for prioritisation, again, as part of the strategic approach that we tabled and presented in December. We've aligned and worked with our Waters Operations Department in particular to determine projects that could be deferred or design only. So this will help to reduce that as well. But again, that is a transition period. The additional risks that we're identifying currently is the workload imbalance, calibre and volume of projects, and timing and prioritisation of projects. However, we're confident that with the new strategy that we've now got approval for with implementation, over time we will be able to mitigate those risks. Adequacy of planning. Processes have been in place for some time now where the operations team are included once we have the concept designs, where we then sit down around the table and we talk through with them what the concept design looks like. Are there any potential operational issues that the team see where we may need to request additional changes to the design to get us to the detailed design? We also have communications with the landowners prior to the commencement of putting tenders out on GEPs. Historically, that wasn't the case, and that was catching us out a little bit, which could cause time lags and delays. And the last step is that for our rural water scheme projects, it's been agreed that a practical walkover of the sites will occur with the relevant rural water scheme chair once the concept designs are completed for any rural considerations as well. So we're always open to feedback on other opportunities that we think we can make improvements in. However, at this point in time, we think we are covering that scoping and planning adequately. The quality of business cases and application of project management framework. We've now got a full team of asset managers and we have the resources in place to mitigate this risk. And they're a great team actually, great knowledge base. Another risk was ambitions quantum that can be delivered, capacity constraints. As discussed about the strategy proposed in December, we believe with over time we can mitigate this risk. However, there's always the areas where if you have staff resigning or leaving, that you have vacancies, which will be an ongoing area, as in any department. And availability of contractors and processes. The contractor evening, I thought that was kind of interesting that it was raised because we actually implemented that here in this council 2 years ago. And it's a very successful evening. The first year we had over 100 attendees. Last year we didn't have as many attendees as the prior year, but we still had, I think, probably at least 60 in the room. And what it does is it gives the contractors visibility of our planned forward works program, and it helps them to do their resource planning as well. So by that, if there's a project that catches their attention, they know roughly when to expect that it's coming out on the market. They can gear up for it in the hope that they'll be successful in their tender. And providing regular project information to council. We provide our Category A projects, which we're presenting today at Risk and Assurance. And we have our infrastructure strategy and delivery report, which is presented to council bi-monthly. Again, I appreciate it is a very big report, and we're open to feedback with how we want to grow that moving forward or reduce that, or if we think currently it's status quo is where we want to be as well. So with all those considerations in place and assessing with the risk matrix, we have moved from high to a residual risk of medium. Do I see that reducing lower? Probably not, because in fairness with projects, that is something that is an ongoing, you have a lot of risks associated with that, and particularly where you have resource requirements as well. So I believe we have mitigated it to the level that we can at this point in time. Are there any questions?
Donna, can you just go to the wording of the recommendation, excuse me, on page 39? And I might be reading this wrong, but it says, has moved from high to medium. The overall level of risk has reduced to high.
So that's me referring to, and I'll just get the right one for you. So that's the inherent risk.
Okay. Right, questions of Donna? Councillor Cotton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, just Donna, thank you for the report. Just back to the adequacy of planning, it actually warms my heart to see that. I believe that project management should be talking with operational staff at the earliest convenient time, bearing in mind that there's a bit of experience in a lot of the operations and they may have something to contribute as well. So really happy to see this, and so that's a big thumbs up from me.
Thank you.
Other questions? On page...
What was the clarification on your question, Dave?
Yeah, just want to go over that
Sorry,
again.
so that's the inherent risk, so that's the organisation-wide risk. So if projects weren't delivered, that's a high risk, whereas the residual risk is the risk that we believe we're at now, which is medium, after putting in the mitigations to those risks. That makes sense?
So does it...
Yeah, I'm just still reading that recommendation too, medium, the overall level of risk is reduced to high.
Yeah.
Sorry, because it was critical before. Sorry, I should have.
Oh,
sorry,
that's what that's the answer.
Sorry, it was critical before.
Okay, I see
now it's
high, medium, and I see
Sorry.
reduced to high. Well,
My fault.
Yeah.
Apologies. I should have had that in.
That's
or
the missing.
reduced to high from critical.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
We might just alter the wording of the
Add that
recommendation.
reading.
Too high from.
So if staff just note that the level of risk has reduced from critical to high.
Yes. Apologies for that.
Thank you. Other questions of Donna? Mayor Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Donna, number 8, possible investment and improvement required to reduce risk. Let's see, you make a note there that most of the risks identified are external factors, but regarding the retention of staff, that statement you've got there, do you think that is a concern, a future concern, or one that's monitored, or?
Through you, Chair. So for our department in particular, we've got a really good team culture. There is definitely the risk associated with team that live outside of the Clutha district, where they have the travel. I mean, that's been one of the main reasons that after a year or two that the team do decide that the commute time when they can then get a role in Dunedin. And I think I've mentioned this in the past. I've sort of come to the point of acceptance, I suppose, that we're a great council for growing and developing team and getting them into a space. And then unfortunately for us, but great for them, they then seek roles in the cities that they currently reside in because it reduces that commute time of up to 2 hours a day. Team do work from home 1 to 2 days a week. So and there's a van for Dunedin staff as well, team to commute with. So we definitely put in everything that we can do, but we can't control that.
My next question there under 8.2 has got once Datascape is fully implemented and required training is provided. And then I turn the page, I see down the bottom there, Datascape was ongoing, Datascape was ongoing again. Is it having quite an impact, Datascape, on your department?
Through your worship, yes, it does, because it does. Yes.
And talk about that a wee bit more later in the morning, maybe. Other questions, Mayor Martin?
Well, yeah, that just concerns me, that bottom one there, especially with budgeting, working with finance to provide better reporting to inform budgets and impacts. But yeah, we'll touch on that later.
Thank you. Donna, going to the list of risk causes, at what point do we introduce things like cost fluctuations, land acquisition, or maybe delay in consenting? Cost fluctuations, I guess, most importantly at the moment.
Cost fluctuations, sorry, through you, Chair, we do try to control that as much as we can within the contracts. I'm very mindful at the moment of all the issues with the war between the USA and Iran and with fuel. I've requested the team to look at each individual contract, not only capital, but also my department, the maintenance contracts, to determine at which time, if there is or isn't the opportunity for the contractors to request those fluctuations. So that fact is an example as we're aware of, and we're investigating that right now. Normally, in a normal circumstance, we have those controls within the contract. These are extraordinary times right now. And I'm aware that when there was COVID-19, that those extraordinary times at a council that I worked at prior did cause cost fluctuations that were significant. So that is a risk.
And contingency allowance in contracts obviously takes on a different meaning, I guess, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. You've talked about the success of the contractor evening. Are you planning another one of those?
We are. We're looking at around May, because by then we'll have May's sort of the preferred month, because by then we have real visibility of what we're looking to carry forward. Where the chair mentioned to you earlier about understanding the volume of carry forward projects, that's critical with our team, because then that also determines the deliverable of new projects in the next year.
Councillor McCrosty?
Just one thing, Donna. This morning, New Zealand Contractors Federation released 16 to 20% surcharge on fuel. So that will be on all bills.
For you, Chair, if we've got a contract in place, they have to, really?
With rising fuel on those contractors, etc., they will put a surcharge on.
That's okay. We'll look into that. Thank you.
Yeah. Councillor Graham?
Through you. Further to that, there's also a chance that the supply of other materials are going to be disrupted as well. And I think back to COVID and I think back to Poma and how Calder Stewart's sort of countered that by purchasing everything earlier on, but it may be slightly different now when I see that as big a threat as the fuel possibly.
And that's what I was alluding to before when I talked about stopping and pushing the reset button, but at what point? It's not the sort of thing we'll do this week or next week, but maybe in about a month's time when things have started to settle a little bit.
Do you think they will?
They will. Maybe I'm optimistic. Other questions or observations?
Mr. Chairman, I mean, it's too early because I don't believe the team have had any feedback in relation to existing contracts and their progress.
No.
They're really impacted at the moment. We will need to be seeing how the existing contracts are. We just had a steering group meeting, didn't we, around the Elsie Stewart Community Library and Pool, and the big ticket items that we were looking at getting pre-approval to purchase from, because they're from overseas. They've already been, they're well advanced in that sense. We've got an idea where they are and what one of them's already in country, for example. So they don't anticipate any significant problems at this point, but then we don't know what's going to happen in another month. Existing contracts we are currently okay with, or haven't heard anything more, but these things will need to be considered when you are scoping and planning to start new projects.
Absolutely, and I mean, we've got really good relationships with our contractors. So for example, with the LC Stewart project, they're actually ordering in advance now to stop those price hikes. So we might have balloon costs coming in, but within the project budget, but that's to mitigate those potential increased prices for steel or equipment.
And we know as prices go up, they will come down. Not as fast,
No.
but they will come down. Does anybody have any further questions of Donna or observations on the paper? If not, do we have a mover for the recommendations on page 39, noting the wording change to recommendations? Moved Councillor Kennedy, seconded Councillor Graham. All in favour? Against? Carried. Donna, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And you will remain in the front seat as we go to the capital project reports on page 46.
This will be a joint exercise, because there are the ones within the report, and then there are separate reports.
Correct.
Thank you. So through you, Chair, are you wanting to talk through the project E first, or the category A?
No, we will start on page number 50 with our old friend, the Balmoral Tuapeka water scheme.
Right, thank you. So I'll step in. Raymar is actually, John's on leave at the moment, so Raymar's going to cover his report. Thank you.
Welcome, Raymar.
Through your chair, good morning, everyone. I'm standing in here for John. Key highlights is for the Balmoral Tuapeka, it's now less of the bigger contracts that we were handling before and more of the nuts and bolts and making sure that we cross all the T's and dot the I's. And there's a lot of collaboration happening between the project team as well as Linda's team, Three Waters Operations, making sure that once we press the button and lift the boil water notice, we won't be putting it back again. So that's what we're concentrating right now. Other than that, I'll take that the report has been read.
So a few questions, Raymar, that I have. So if we go to page 51, and there's a comment under contract 865 heading, it says, excuse me, practical completion certificate was issued in December 25. Does that not apply to the Kean Road and other items that follow that?
Through your chair, how do I put it? Because along those lines, there are existing pipelines, cross connections, etc. That was not part of the new project.
Yep.
And it's still being worked on to make sure that the whole intent of the project would be achieved. So short answer, it somehow affects because now we're tapping into the contractor to help us to sort out all those nuts and bolts for remaining works.
Second question is with respect to the fibre remedial works, and there's something that grabbed my attention. There has been no response from the contractor. What's the current status of that? And has the engineer representative initiated further engagement?
So through your chair, we are still figuring out what's the way forward. It's really a bit painful dealing with it right now. But most of our resources are focusing on really trying to get that boil water notice lifted.
Sorry, and just through the chair as well, just to support that, we've actually escalated it to the engineer to contract.
That's the answer I was looking for. So what's the magnitude of these remedial works? Is that reasonably significant or just minor stuff?
Are we still talking about, through your chair, are we still talking about the fiber? Or there's no effect right now because at the point in time when we had those problems a few months back, we went through that, what do you call that? The online thingy, no longer a fiber. Yeah, the signal one. The wireless, yeah.
And my final question.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. So what the Chairman might have been looking for is like, what's the quantum that's at risk in respect to that final works in terms of dollars?
I don't have that number with me right now.
Final question from me on bottom of page 52.
Through you, Chair, it's $300,000 that we had allowed for that fibre work.
Thank you. And we go to the financials on the bottom of page 52.
Sorry, it's just a further question on the fibre. So we've got the Wi-Fi running there between the plants and the booster stations. Is that working well enough that we could maybe dump the fibre? Do we need the fibre?
Through your chair, that would be probably for decision. But right now I didn't receive any reports that it's not working well. But from memory, I understood that there's some pros and cons between that one, especially on the bad weather. It's more stable if it was wired or with a fiber rather than a wireless.
We usually don't need water when it's a lot of bad weather.
No, but it's through Chairman, it's we might get a I'll take a thing down for Linda and that for later and the team, but it's more to do with stability of the information being sent to where it needs to be sent to, because we get into trouble if with Tom and Arawai and other places if we don't feed the information continuously. I believe that's correct.
Dave, sounds like you should be doing my job. So that is right, it's about the resilience. So fibre will give us greater resilience and we won't have to rely on even weather conditions sometimes can affect that wireless signal. And we have to rely on the telemetry data for our compliance information. So it is critical in terms of having that stability.
Supplementary question, Councillor Makitavani.
Thank you. Can I just on that Wi-Fi thing, last year during that windstorm, we had the first time we had the opportunity to have Starlink. And I'm wondering whether, with that becoming more available, whether that would rule out that it's very, very reliable. If Wi-Fi connected to Starlink in the future, would we need the fibre?
Through the chair, I'm not, I haven't tried that or talked to the technical team about that, but it could be a consideration. We did get impacted by the wind event with the existing arrangements, and it was one of the reasons why we had to stay on boil water notices for longer than we needed to, because we couldn't evidence that we were compliant.
Yeah, but once it's as a local, when they put our cell phone coverage up onto the Starlink, it's the best it's ever been. And then when it's gone again, it's not.
So through the chair, so look, as Raymar alluded to, we're open to discuss and consider these options moving forward. However, due to the high sensitivity of the current discussions with engineer to contract with the contractor, our preference is for that to run due course first.
Councillor Catherwood.
So a question for Donna then. So we've paid the 300,000 to this contractor. Obviously we've discovered that it's failed. We're at that stage, engineer to contract. So when do we get a result? When do you think we have a result on the situation?
Through you, Chair, that's a really good question. Without going into too much detail, the director of the contractor in question has been incredibly unwell and is actually in hospital. So unfortunately, until we can have that time to have those discussions, but it is with the engineer contract, so I'm sorry, I can't answer that right now.
Other questions? I guess coming back to my final one, bottom of page 52, I, like everybody else, like seeing the green colour in terms of the variance. Are we confident with additional work being done that we're going to maintain that position?
Through the chair, yes, we're tracking along with the available budget.
Thank you. And page 54, 55, just to make sure I'm reading this correctly, there are now only 3 risk areas open. Is that correct?
Through the chair, yes. So one of that was what we discussed about that remaining item.
Yeah. Excellent. Shall we go to the Milton project?
It's you as well, Raymar.
Raymar doing those as well. So page 56.
All right. For the Milton group of projects, I'll start with contract 908, which is the stormwater and the foul sewer renewal works right now. The works are progressing well on this upgrade of the 60-year-old stormwater and wastewater pipeline along Union Street. Few days ago, the project currently experienced a minor delay due to the discovery and required remediation of poor ground conditions, which was part of the risk. Near the connection with a very old stormwater pipeline, as well as unexpected discovery of short section of asbestos cement pipe. So at that point in time, we've paused, and the team had to know how big is the problem is. The good thing is that's the only length that we've seen from that CCTV inspection that we've done. So right now, with that discovery or that positive discovery that there's no more asbestos, we avoided the further complexity and potential delay of the project. In terms of the stakeholders, we are very happy with the cooperation and the patience of the residents, as well as the road users during these works. And then for looking forward, by 30th of March, I expect the second crew of the contractor to be on site, and there would be some additional extension of the traffic management along Union Street between Dutry Street and Park Road. So other than that, I take that the report has been read and open for questions.
And are there any questions, Councillor Graham?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. Just on the residents, and I went past there the other day, and I was wondering how the residents' vehicle access to their properties and the areas that they're working on. How's that working?
I don't have the full details, but what we usually do is we do a letter drop and inform them of the plan, as well as the availability of the staff or the contractor during those times to assist them with going in and out of the road. I can check further after office hours. How does it work? I don't have the answers right now.
Yeah, because looking at the progress that they're making, like some of those people may not have vehicle access to their property for over a week, unless I'm missing something.
I'll check that.
Other questions or observations? If not, do we want to kick on to the streetscape beautification project, starting on page 59?
All right. So for the updates here on the beautification project, if you go to page 60, under item number 2, which are the hold points, The finalization of the design as well as the validation of costs has been completed, and we are tracking towards the allotted budget for that scope of works. And then for the lighting for Plaza, I've yet to get that lead time. But the rest, we're catching up on the works as well as making sure that those pedestrian crossings would also be completed before the Anzac Day, which was highlighted previously in the previous meetings. So I'll take that the report has been read.
So sorry, so when we talked about this before, and sorry, through Mr. Chair and Donna, we're talking about how up to date these reports are. And specifically, I might have missed it, but the bit about waiting for the structural detailed design, I thought that information has been received.
Yes.
Indeed, you mentioned it. I just missed it, that one.
Oh yeah, I did mention when I started, I said page 60, most of those hold points has been dealt with already.
Yeah. But I mean, council would have been interested more specifically because it was always that high risk around what was that structural design going to actually show us, or detailed design, and where we're going to be in trouble with budgets and bits and pieces. So we got some success there, didn't we, team? So that's the message, I think.
Yeah.
So, through you, Chair. So, as Rama sort of mentioned, we've had the pricing. So this is regarding the brick wall and the extension. With prices have come in and it's all within budget. So the team have worked incredibly hard to mitigate those concerns and risks of council.
So effectively, that means it's on track again.
Yes.
And they'll be able to go full steam ahead.
And keep finishing that sentence, full steam ahead, which will bring us to the end of the project about when?
End of May.
End of May, thank you.
Donna said that, just maybe.
Yeah. 31st of May.
We'll just put that caveat, subject to weather.
Okay.
Should we book the opening ceremony now? Let's keep that date free, everybody. It's a ribbon cutting exercise. Yes, you'll be inviting Councillor Graham.
No, I noticed in here it says that Power Network is due on site on the 16th of March. I was in Milton on the 16th of March and Power Network they're working, so
Yeah,
it looks like everything's on schedule.
good work. It's a good news story. Any other questions or comments? If not, let's flick to page number, Mount Cooey we're talking about, page number 67. Welcome.
To the chair, to your chair. I'm here to update for the transfer station at Mount Cooey. From our previous report, based on the survey and updated assessment, the landfill has more remaining capacity than previously expected. Following this, the tender was withdrawn from government electronic tender service and a cost avoidance of approximately 300K. The plan now is to position a temporary transfer station on the current cell, and this work can be handled by our operations team. Therefore, we request that this component of the project can be removed from risk and assurance category A project reporting. And
when are you anticipating the decision paper being presented to council? Within the next couple of months?
Yep, yes.
Comments, observations on that request? Is everyone comfortable with the request?
Good news, isn't it?
Yes?
Well, it's a moving target, really, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? No objections to that proposal? There you go, you got unanimous support.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions in respect to Mount Cooey? No? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Elsie Stewart facility, Donna?
So good morning, everybody. So the project is now in physical construction, which is a great milestone and achievement. For those of you that have driven past the site, you'll see the large wooden fence on the Union Street State Highway side, and there's high fencing on the Ajax Street side as well. That's for obviously public safety, so that members of the public don't try to access the site. There is going to be some kind of banners put up on the wooden fence. So I know it's not very attractive looking currently. There will be CDC and Calder Stewart banners going on there, and absolutely in Donald Stewart's style, he's an absolute perfectionist. He's wanting to review those, what that would look like before we proceed with that. We had the turning of the sod event last month. We had really good numbers of attendees there. Thankfully, the weather held off because it had rained prior. And Steve caught me chatting away, networking, and then said, come on, let's get on with this before the rain comes in. So that was a good reminder of me. So we did that, and we've got the photos associated there of the event, and that was a media release as well. The site validation reports, we approached ORC because for the two different consents, so the way I simplify it is for the consent for the demolition of the buildings above the ground and then the consent for the earthworks underground. Both required site validation reports, which, you know, are about $4,000 per report. We approached ORC to request that, considering the fact that the project is moving along now at a nice pace. Could we consider the opportunity of having one site validation report covering both aspects? If we delivered within the timelines of the completion, they agreed. The issue is because of the landscaping that comes at the end of the project, we wouldn't be within that 3-month window. However, we are able to do a very really high level, much more appetising financially report the first time. So we're quite happy with that outcome. So that's underway at the moment. The Bruce Community Trust members have lodged their application with the lotteries for their funding, and we're still waiting the outcome and decisions on the lotteries of that. But there was a lot of work involved with that actually, not only for the Bruce Community Trust, but also for council staff and team members, and really like to thank Lily because she actually lodged it on behalf of the Bruce Community Trust with the DIA. So that's awesome. The initial intent was for the project to commence the work from the library end, which is the Union Street. However, because we've ordered the pool in advance and it's on its way as we speak, getting built and constructed, the decision's now been made to start at the pool end, which is the Ajax Street side, and you'll see on page 72 that first. Probably doesn't look a lot, but that's the first digging of the large pool going in there. Financially, we're on track for total budget and for annual budgets. I requested a cash flow projection from Calder Stewart to determine what our cash flow expenditure would be to the end of this financial year and the first 3 months of next year. One, to help me with forecasting, but also two, for our finance team. That has come in, and by the projections and including other costs that we have outside of the physical delivery, we're estimating to have a variance of around $5 to $5.4 million of underspend this financial year, which closer to the time we'll be requesting to carry forward into next year. We've got the risk and issue log. So this is the risk and issue log that Calder Stewart now do. So the one that I was originally presenting in the scoping and planning and design phase is now closed. As you were aware at last risk and assurance, all those risks had been mitigated and closed. So now I'll be embedding the risk register from Calder Stewart, which we will also add items to, which one area that we've added in is the time and quality for overseas procurement of materials. That's all green. They've all been ordered. Some of the materials are due to arrive shortly, like the HVAC system. We are aware with the war that's going on at the moment that there could possibly be risks in those ships coming through from Italy with the pool. So it's there as a risk. It's currently green, but would be unjust not to put that on there. Public perception, I feel, is a risk overall because there has been an awful lot of public interest, positives and negatives. So our role is to mitigate that with good, strong communications to the community and keeping people up and informed and up to date as much as we can. Financial risk, every project has financial risk. So again, needs to be included. Currently we're green, so that's fine. The other risks on this risk register are associated with the physical build. One area that I would like to draw to your attention though is that, and it's just to make you aware of currently, is the project has quite a small contingency, and because of the additional work that the professional service providers, lawyers, and other external consultancy organisations had to do, the original estimates of costs that we felt would have been just to cover that has well exceeded, and that was to get us from the notice of requirement to non-affected parties were non-notifiable. So that was a huge amount of work, but it did come at a cost. And we have utilised 97,000 of the current contingency. So we still have contingency, remembering that the physical construction is a lump sum. So any cost escalations for material or fuel at this point in time will be all included in that lump sum value. And Calder Stewart are purchasing materials in advance with the knowledge of price escalations. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. But we are on track. Everything is looking green currently.
So, Mr. Chairman, just the message there is that the less that council gets involved in things, the less risk of contingency. Isn't that correct, Donna?
Correct.
Because it's a lump sum contract. Yeah. So the risk and the costs associated with consenting, that's done now because we've managed to get through that. So that's all fine. We haven't got anything sitting there that's in mind that sort of goes off to something else we're doing. At this point, we will ensure that the library fit out, for example, absolutely isn't going to go beyond the budget. It's going to be what the budget says. So there's not that much that we're doing outside the project in that sense.
Correct. All the risk, I suppose you could say, that council had to work towards was with the consent, was with pre-physical construction. I'm quite comfortable at the moment.
Councillor Colvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Donna, just on the Bruce Community Trust's application for lotteries, so the funding they're applying for, is that over and above what council's committed, or is it part thereof? Or
Through you, Chair, so it's part of the entire $19.4 million. They're hoping to get $2 million of funding, but it's included within that full budget value.
Right, thank you. And which particular lotteries fund are they applying to? Is it the communities?
They're doing a number, a few of them. So they've got the first one had to be in like a really tight time frame.
Yes.
Now they're reaching out to others as well. They're going to reach out to as many as they can, and if they can get more, that's fantastic.
Do they have anything in kitty now?
From memory, and I'm going back quite a few months now, they did have they did have some, but this is a few months ago.
So I guess the risk is them not being successful.
Yes, but that's been agreed in prior council reports and agreements.
Yes. No, I understand it.
Yeah. Thank you. Around about 180 grand.
Yeah, that's done well. Yeah.
Other questions of Donna on this project? If not, thank you very much, Donna.
Thank you.
Can I take committee members back now to page 47? And I'll get, talk about project A, I'll get Sharon to give us a high-level overview of commentary specific to Project E, we do have opportunity later this morning to discuss this matter a wee bit further.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this part of the paper is just to sort of outline where we're getting to, what we're doing. We've been very actively talking with Datascape, and they've been very supportive of our concerns and providing resource and helping us view through things, which has been really good. I guess we still have a way to go, but we'll cover that a bit more later. And this is just to sort of tell you the things that we're currently working on, and we're heading into an end of year that we've never done as well. And just to say they are providing us support and training, things for the rollover of that, and that we're still working on our financial reporting, in addition to the other functionalities that we're working through with them, how that will work best for us.
But Sharon, just to assist us in terms of further information, in terms of financial reporting and the progress, we believe we are confident enough to be able to say that we are intending to produce a whole organisation financial report for the 31st of March.
That is the plan.
No, and I know we've had plans previously where, so the December was the plan and things like that, but the progress has been sufficient that we have reasonable confidence around the 31st of March for the organisation financial report. That's correct, isn't it? That's what we've talked about.
Yeah, that's correct. The step we have left to do, we've pretty much finished the remapping and setting up the new codes. The step we have left is to look at our current actuals in live and pull those apart to a more granular level so that we can report budgets against actuals, because they're quite high level. That's the piece of work left to do pretty much, is to, for the team to spend a bit of time going through other expenses for water and making sure it goes to non-routine reactive, all those correct places, which,
And we're also aiming, or relatively confident on management reporting for the organisation. So that's throughout all the activities for the 30th of April. And whilst that might seem a fair while away, it does also mean that there's been a lot of work underneath that around, it wouldn't be the first time that staff will see the financials, because they'll be working up to the 30th of April on what the information is telling them as well, to clean up some of the, there'll be bound to be things in the wrong places. But we're almost there in terms of that. Obviously, it was supposed to be done back in December, but it was just physically and technically impossible to achieve that.
Through you, it's interesting though, because we can get the information out, but the way the system's set up, we can't get it to report that information in the way we want it.
We've always had the information.
So we've got it. We can pull out non-routine water, but we can't get it to report non-routine water because it doesn't pick up a certain field. That's the piece of work we've been doing. So it's all there, and we can get it. We just need to rejig it.
Councillor Catherwood.
So then, in short, one sentence you're saying, Datascape, so it is working, but you're catching up to make sure things landed in the right spot. But the next statement you're saying, it isn't working to how it's meant to be designed. I would say.
Through you, Mr. Chair, all the information is going in there, and it's landing in a way that we can see what we need to see, but the way it lands, it doesn't correlate to a report. So, there's lots of different ways of chopping up the data. It's quite a smart system. But the problem is the way the data is chopped doesn't, if I put in it's getting a bit technical, I think. If I put in a non-routine thing, I'll choose a thing called a PFC for non-routine, but that can't be reported against. You can only report on something else over here that we need to call non-routine. So that's the exercise we're doing now, is making sure we have that on the transaction as well. So it's all there, and you can pull it out and you can chop it up within Excel, but there's reports there that are mapped, and we should be able to push a button and see our budget and our actuals both just like that. It's as opposed to pulling out 122,000 transactions and trying to manually rejig them.
So in short then, the system isn't working.
It's working for some things, but not for reporting.
So overall we're still.
Yeah, it's to completeness, and as I say, there is an opportunity to discuss the technical side of that later on.
And you're quite adamant by the 31st you'll have accurate financial reporting, or?
We have a degree of confidence that the 31st of March, we're going to get an organisational financial report.
Yeah. Which we'll talk about at our meeting on 30th of April, I think it is.
So, because basically, all the things that we needed to have done, and there was a lot of them, which is why we couldn't do things in December, we've basically, the team, have done all this work and they've chopped off this and this and this and this. We're basically on the very last thing, which has already been resourced to achieve to get to that 31st. It's the last of a long line of things that had to be resourced and done.
And then the date for the 30th is the activity reports probably confirming those figures that have come out on the 31st of March. Would that be right?
Through you, Chair, those activity reports are the ones that we get out to like our budget holders for them to review their progress. We've been doing a little bit of that, but it's very manual and it's not very effective.
Like the 3 waters.
Yeah, like the 3 waters, for example.
Next one coming up.
Yeah. So we'll come back to this later this morning.
Yeah.
Back to page 48, projects F, G, H, no change, so no need for discussion. Mr. CE, do you want to talk about project I, like Southern Water? Or Linda?
Yes, well, the Gore, I've just received the information that Gore met, was it a couple of days ago or yesterday, and resolved to include Waitaki. So the next one on the list is Central Otago, scheduled next, and then we're scheduled 1st of April, I think it is, for you to make a decision. Fools. But it's scheduled for the afternoon, councillor, so it's not technically. And that's the list of things we have to do. And it's not just that, there are a number of other keynote documents for approval as well, but Gore's basically has gone through that process and approved all the keynote documents. So if Central does it, and then let's say you do it, then basically that's all the paperwork done to keep moving. So that's the paperwork progress, and behind the scenes, there's a whole lot of other progress being done around working through the development of project work for the work streams for transition and things like that. So I understand the councillors that are a part of the meetings can speak, but we've got councillor involvement and mayor involvement in a number of those meetings with the other councils, and my observation has been that everything's been very cordial and sort of all aligned, but the councillors and your worship might want to say something.
Oh, through you, Mr. Chair. April 1st, it will be councillors. It's got to be, well, we're going to have to make a decision, but leading up to that, and for the new councillors that weren't present the last term, there's 3 councillors in the room that voted against the original decision, me being one of them. My involvement so far to date with the Southern Water's done well. It was voted on to continue and be involved with Southern Water's done well. I've moved on from my original vote, and what I'm seeing is really good. So we're going to have to form a decision on 1 April. And till that day, well, it's entirely up to you which way you go. But yeah, it's been very, very, as Steve said, cordial, and it's been some good outcomes. So yeah, Simon or Roger might have been quite involved. and supporting me with it, so, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chairman, I found the whole process really good, actually. People are getting on, they're not afraid to say what they're thinking, and there's, you know, a bit of changing and so forth around just little wee minor points, but generally the direction's good. With Waiteki coming on board, I see as a real positive as well. So I think it's an exciting time, actually. It's something we're going to do, and we're going to do it right. And that's what the three of us are here to make sure it's done right for our ratepayers. So I think it's a really good thing.
Councillor Makatamani, have you anything to add to that?
I've pretty much just been following through the constitutional and shareholder agreement stuff. There's a few wee peculiar things in there, but I might have argued against, but I'm struggling to win against another 12 or a dozen people in the calls. But it just worries me a little bit that some of the direction seems to be trying to just swing a wee bit back to the council holding just a wee bit more power than maybe what they should. That's just an opinion, but they're minor things. May not be in that way.
Thank you. Any other comments or observations? If not, can I take everybody back to page 46? There is a recommendation that the capital project report category A be received. That is moved by Councillor Graham, seconded by Mia Martin. All in favour? Against? Carried. Go to page 77. We'll take this item and then we'll break for morning tea. Conflict of interest register. Received, and we're reviewing for accuracy. You've all seen your own name in there. Correctly aligned.
Yes, through you, sir.
Councillor
I've
Harrison.
made another conflict of interest with my business. It needs to be added.
Sorry, can you start that again?
Oh, I have another conflict of interest with my private business that needs to be added to the register.
Oh, sure. Can you just advise staff of what that is? Thank you. Any other councillors? We comfortable with what's there? Accurately reflects where we are, who we are, what we're doing?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I've
Councillor
got
Cotton.
one to add as well, which I'll just do what Councillor Harrison's doing.
Thank you.
Pointed out to staff.
Mover, Councillor Smith, seconded, Councillor McCrosty.
Councillor Catherine, you don't see Arkwright's on there.
All rolled into one, mate.
Steve Towns.
Okay, all in favour? Against? Carried. And with that, we will break for morning tea, and we will return at 11:10. We are recommencing with item number 8 on page 83, Linda, and you've all received a supplementary piece of paper correcting probably one of the questions that was on everybody's mind to ask today. So, Linda, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a reminder, again, and you've heard the, earlier about the reporting limitations in Datascape. So again, this report has been pulled together manually, but we have reasonable confidence in the numbers, especially the bottom line, I guess. So year to date, it's not 1.8 anymore. Sorry, we are 1.1.
Hang on.
Is that the number I'm looking at? Year to date numbers changed.
For the full year budget, you mean?
For the 7 months.
Oh, one.
Oh no, 14, sorry. So 14.1, not 14.8 million. Compared to budget. I am expenditure, sorry. Three Waters operation expenditure is 14.1 million compared to a budget of 13 million. So the overspend is 1.148. So last report it was about $1 million over. So it's gone up slightly. Some of that difference is the interest figure. So the finance costs, which are shown now on the amended sheet at 262 over. The other figures are unchanged in terms of variance.
Question there, Mr. Chair. So where did your finance costs here on the latest sheet?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, I'll talk to that. When we pulled together the first report, I grabbed a loan sheet that we use and took the numbers out of that. But because we're still working through our financial reporting and setting it up, I didn't realise we hadn't updated our interest rate. So the initial one had the interest rate at 5.25, where we budgeted at 4.1. So I've corrected that. So apologies, that's on me. I picked up the wrong thing. And the 262 finance cost that is still sitting there, that is mostly made up of the interest that is attached to the 7 odd million we decided to borrow to mitigate our rates increases in year 1 of the LTP, because that loan is interest only, but it's compounding. So we didn't budget that interest, but it's sitting there. So I think next report we will separate that out and show it separately. We're showing it as a finance cost, but it's not something that we budgeted to fund because we were adding it to the loan to be repaid in years 4, 5 and 6. Hopefully that makes sense.
So what you're sort of saying, Sharon, through Mr. Chairman, is that even with the additional compounded interest and that sort of things, because we're saying we're going to be funding whatever it is by loan at a future date, the argument would be, those costs are basically equivalent to equaling budget, no matter what it is, and should be separated from this current year's budget as a result. So what we're saying is that whatever the figures are for those financial costs, because the decision is to do interest only and fund it and pay for it at a future date, whatever that figure is going to be will then be scheduled to be funded appropriately at that later date. Doesn't really factor into this actual year's budget, and it would be incorrect to assess it against this year's budget as a result.
And our budget had added to the loan. I've just calculated it and it's still in there. I need to pull it out separate for you so that you can see the actual loans from 24, 25, 26.
That's the $7 million loan.
Yes, yes. And the interest on that for the year, I think, was 352 at the new interest rate, at 4.1.
And then looking at the other operating expenditure, which was showing overspend of 890,000 at end of month 6, that was 772. So it's about $120,000 change. And within the bullet points there, the third bullet point down shows you the unders and overs that make up that difference. And we seem to be tracking at about that same 120, it's about 118 actually, but each month. The other significant change is the employee benefits. So last month that was reported as overspent by 182,000, and it's now showing surplus budget. That's because we've identified that there's some staff who were transferred into my department from another activity, were being funded by me, and they had the budget, so that's now being adjusted and brought that into line. And we should see that figure improve between now and the rest of the year, given that we're not replacing a number of staff within the Three Waters team.
So the other observation, Linda, is on the top line, we've got a 7-month budget for rates, but a 9-month actual figure, is that correct?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes it is, and it's just the way the rates invoicing goes. We do it 4 times a year.
So if
So
we,
the invoices for that quarter, the whole lot of them are in there.
yeah. And one would expect when we get to the 9-month period, that line will be
Very close to zero.
variance close to zero. Which if you adjust that off the bottom line, which is a surplus of, surplus of 1.9, take off the 3.1, comes back to about a 1.2 deficit, which is about 100K away from the budget, correct? So we're on line with budget.
And we're also seeing there, through you, Mr. Chair, the fees and user charges.
Yep.
So we're well ahead there on budget, and that I think will largely relate to us being on top of our water meter billing. And so that's a positive as well.
Questions of Linda or observations on the presentation, starting with Councillor Smith and then Councillor Cole.
Through you, the Chair. Thanks, Linda. Just a wee query on page 85. You've got staffing costs are 4K over budget year to date, and you're making savings.
Oh, actually, they're under budget now, sorry. Getting our overs and unders, they're under budget.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Where are we at if we end up having a full staff and we still have those wind events for your budgeting? Your budgeting saying we're lucky because we've got a few staff under and you're saving a lot of money. But what actually, if you have a full blown staff, 100% fully fitted, that budget's always going to be blown out, isn't it?
That's correct, through you, Mr. Chair, and part of that is the way that the salaries are budgeted in terms of there's an adjustment that happens because most teams are never fully staffed.
So you bank on that?
Yeah.
Through you, Mr. Chair, another thing to Councillor Smith is that some of those positions Linda's talking about, she's not filling at all.
I understand that, but I'm just thinking in general, if we were 100% fully staffed, we would be miles over budget.
Yes, and that's been our trend since we brought things in-house, and also the overtime and allowances perhaps haven't been budgeted for as they needed to be. And in the next financial year, we've taken account of those. We should be much closer to the mark.
Through Mr. Chair, I mean, we under budget by 6%, which with a $14 to $16 million salary budget is quite a bit. But the corollary to that is that if we didn't under budget by 6%, we'd be rate funding a heck of a lot that then you would find you would be underspending historically. So the decision was taken that we're better off taking risk around what is reasonable to under budget in that sense, and that's what we should be looking for overall, and that's why we end up with the 6%. It's still quite a challenge to us, but if you think about it, it has saved us a lot of rates money because we've generally been around what that 6% reduction actually equates to. And so that's, at the end of the day, that's, reasonable budgeting in that sense for something that's, one of our most expensive line items, isn't it, in terms of budgeting. So that's why historically what we've done, we've generally over the years been pretty good around that. And so we continue to push at budget time to suggest that we keep knocking 6% off And again, the annual plan's got 6% off the salaries again.
Thanks, Steve. Councillor Cotton, Councillor Graham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question may be for Sharon, maybe not Linda, but how many ratepayers renege on their rates? Is it a problem or is it a growing trend?
Through you, Mr. Chair, you can't renege on your rate, you cannot pay them.
That's
but-
what I meant.
But we will come to get the money.
Eventually.
Eventually,
Yeah.
yes. And it has been growing, or it was growing, the quantum of the rates, but everybody's rates are going up, so it's difficult to tell if it's people or the amount of their rates. But we've been really encouraging direct debits, and that's made a big difference. And also, the rates team have worked with a lot of people to do payment plans if they get a little overwhelmed and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. But I do have a concern, probably not so much for council, but for the new CCO about where that lies, because it won't be under the Rating Act. So people paying water bills, but.
Little unsure what safety they're going to get for that. Yes. Yeah, we have talked to them.
Yeah, that's, anyway.
Yeah, it's closely reading the legislation to make sure that that's not
Needs
a
to
loophole.
be. Yes, I agree.
Councillor Graham.
Yeah, through, just back to Councillor Smith and the extra costs and manpower used after a wind event. Is there no insurance that can cover the likes of the weather event meant that that pump station, you had to go and spend 100 hours on it or something like that? Is there no sort of insurance that covers that side of it?
So through you, Mr. Chair, yes, there is, because in the case of the wind event, it's business interruption insurance cover. And so we kept, we learned actually from the flood event the previous year where we didn't have a way of proving to the insurance company the extra work that people did. So this year, last year when the wind event occurred, we kept very detailed records for every staff member. So we can include that in our claim, and that hasn't been reflected in these numbers.
Councillor Cotton again.
Just on the insurance claim, when's that due to be lodged?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it's a bit of an ongoing thing. We've only just finalised the one from the flood.
Oh, okay.
We've only just got the final of that through now from the flood in October 24. Yep. So that'll be a bit of an ongoing thing, and also the excess on some of it's, well, actually, no, the wind event was good because it wasn't a flood, so their excess wasn't as high. Yeah, and it's just a bit of an ongoing process because there's always stuff coming in and there isn't there more stuff and more stuff.
So, through you, we've been working with the loss adjuster and through our broker as well. So they're aware of the quantum because we have, obviously, we're tracking that through coding expenses to specific codes by scheme. So we have good visibility of that. That's about now putting that into I guess it's some form that the loss adjuster can tick off all the invoices and validate the expenses as being claimable.
So is there a limit on what you can claim?
In terms of dollars, no.
Small,
Not in terms of dollars.
Yes. Okay.
Councillor Kennedy.
Not in here, but Linda, on your subject through you, Chair, is we had a event yesterday in Tapanui where all power was off basically to the whole town. So of course that affected our water supply. How are you guys notified quite early on these power outages and that, or because I know the residents actually didn't get a lot of notification from PowerNet and South, or some didn't get anything because they, technology and other issues.
Sure.
Because that can then put our water into next thing, boil water notice again. So how are we covered in all that sort of aspect, or do you just bring a generator across?
Yeah. So through you, Mr. Chair, we do get notified, but I think we get notified almost when the public do anyway, and often it's potentially a couple of weeks' notice. But this one, it seemed to be a bit different. So normally we get advised by the local office, but this one seemed to be not the usual notice period.
Yeah.
And we do consider what is the outage and how much storage do we have, and do we need to put a generator in place? And we have had some where we've made PowerNet pay for the generator as well.
Yeah, I think that was a maintenance sort of clean up with the wind event, was why that sort of ended up happening, but yeah, wasn't much notice go out there.
Thank you. Other questions of Linda? If not, Mayor Martin.
Linda, I'm just saying, so the fair bit of the deficit is made up of the power, unplanned maintenance, routine sampling, electricity, insurance, consents, chemicals, everything, yeah. A lot of it can't be planned for. I get that. But I go over to page 85 and the year ahead, you've got a year-to-date cost that total 3,199,190 for Isaac Group. Year-to-date cost of total that amount. What sort of work, what's that, what work have they done in there? What's that work?
So through the chair, that is the unplanned, largely the unplanned maintenance. So the repairs and breaks that occur in the network. So it comes out of the non-routine budget.
It's a lot
There's
of money.
also, it is a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. If we relate it back to our rates increases to our ratepayers, that's 6.6% that we could be saving them because of, so what is the, can you just give us a bit more background to what they do, what sort of unplanned, non-routine work?
So if somebody calls in to the front desk and says, I've got a leak outside on my footpath, we triage that and send it to them. But we also, in doing that triage, we have some internal resource as well. So depending on the nature of the service request, some things we respond to internally and other work we send to them.
Right. So we don't have the feet on the ground to do those sort of water leaks ourselves.
No, the decision was taken back in 2023 or 22, whenever the former contractor contract was ended, that would be contracted out, that work. So we have a 3+1+1 contract with that organisation, and that the first review is in August 27, by which time
we won't.
The CCO will,
CCO.
whatever operating model they're going to work under,
Mm.
might dictate what that looks like going forward.
It's a lot of water leaks when you look at that value.
Just to reply, Josh, the team on the ground, quite a lot of them have worked for the past contractors, so they know the scheme. And like we had a 6-inch main blow up out at home last week. They were bang straight into it. And there was another one weeping that was dropping pressure through the cannon's booster. Now it was in the bottom of a gully in a forestry block. Found it by mistake. But the big thing is, if we don't do that, we've got major problems. So these guys, even though it seems high, are achieving pretty much a lot of work.
So would it be fair to say that a lot of that value is associated with the rural water schemes?
The breakdown is on the graph, so you can see there the rural repairs are at 853 year to date, and the urban are just over $1 million. I think last year it was probably the opposite way around. Some of that's about what we're doing ourselves, but also state of the network, whether it's improving, and it's almost lucky dip about what's going to break when and where.
Coming back to Councillor McCrosty's point, it's important to retain that local knowledge within whatever the future arrangements might be as well. It's invaluable, isn't it?
And a little bit further, more through the chair, the urban stuff with Isaac is those same boys that are doing the rural, so they know that area.
Exactly. Rightio, any further observations? If not, go back to page 83 to recommendation to receive the report. Do I have a mover? Councillor Kennedy, Councillor Cotton, all in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Going to page 86, which is the financial monitoring report, which isn't. We've noted, and the staff will provide a further update. We have had some commentary thus far, and we'll have an opportunity to have further later this morning. So with that in mind, I intend to move straight to the recommendation, which I will move that we receive the financial monitoring report. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Cotton. All in favour? Against? Carried. Greg, welcome. Page 87.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And, good morning, everybody. Just reporting back on the Endeavour Fund, previously known as NICO. So we had 129k unrealised gain for the month of February. So we're currently sitting at a year-to-date return of 8.71%. And just noting that we've just got the one more month, March, to go. We can then establish, like the investment surplus, we can apply to funding decisions. So yes, the current balance of the fund is 29.559 million. Happy to take any discussions or questions.
Through the chair, Greg, there's been no withdrawals made this year. When are they supposed to go through the rate subsidy and the?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, that's something I've got to get to calculate that and then do the withdrawal. So yes, I'll be doing that.
Through you, Mr. Chair, further to that, what we have started doing is when we're selling pieces of property that we would think to put into the fund, we're just holding that. And the idea behind that is when we get the quantum, we can use that first before we actually try and withdraw anything. The idea is to just like do a recon with what Greg comes up with we need to withdraw for our rate subsidy and funding decisions, and what we've got sitting over here from properties that have sold. And if we need to withdraw, we do. If we don't, we do the balance.
Is that not a consolidated fund? Can you not just ring up the broker and go, let's whack $1 million out of it?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, you can. Some of it's quick to get out. Some of it's not. It depends how they've invested it, what kind of investments they are.
Which part of the fund it comes out of.
You can get it, but it's just we thought, well, we'll keep this here so that we don't have to break it if we don't have to.
Easier out of the cash fund holdings than the equity
We've just got a ring
holdings.
fence to the side for that. And if we have surplus from the sales, then they will get put in there.
Yeah. And it will make an interesting read at the end of March and again at the end of April, won't it?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm not worried about April. The only figure we're interested in is that 1 month of March, is where it sits, because that's what everything hinges on for what you have available to you or don't have available to you for your annual plan decisions, right? Which is a big deal for the council, because whether they've got some discretion or they don't have discretion. But we've got 1 month to go. And remembering that we need to have 884 or something thousand at least before there's anything else to spend over on top of that. We'll just basically got half a month to go.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
So that the property sales sort of slush fund that you're saying, put that against the rates subsidy, that still comes off that 884 still comes off that growth in that investment fund, though, doesn't it? You don't report that it's now grown 1.6 million when actually, had you actually taken it out.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we would have put the property sales money in there anyways, so it'll be the net effect of what we need to do.
But the property sales then classed as growth.
No, it's classed as investment.
Yeah, it comes through as a property sale normally, and it goes into the bank.
Yeah.
And we would pull that out and put it in, not as growth, it just as in it.
Yeah, it's not reported to us as growth.
A deposit into the fund.
Yeah, so it's not calculated as the percentage growth.
No.
Councillor Connor.
Do you have any idea what the slush fund is, the balance?
Through you, Mr. Chair. No. I can find it though.
It's a short answer.
I can guess, but
Just wait.
no, I can find it. Because some of the property as well that we sell, some of it has conditions on it and you've got to use that money for certain things, if it's endowment property or commonage money. So it's just to pull all that apart.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, Councillor Harrison, you happy to move?
Yes, I'll move that.
Thank you very much. Councillor Kennedy will second. This is a recommendation on page 87 we're referring to. All in favour? Against? Carried. Greg remains with us for his report on page 89. Greg.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so just reporting back on the current borrowings. So there's still been no further borrowings since October last year, but we're continuing to just monitor the cash flow situation, upcoming spending to keep track of that. So yes, 158.3 million the balances, and just I added in further to discussion last time the year-to-date budgeted interest paid on the LGFA debt as well as the actual. So yes, so the actual is 3.851 million, and the year-to-date budgeted amount is 4.577. So still underneath that. And just the graphs below, just show that the cost of funds is still sitting at 3.99%, which is the same as what it was in December. So it hasn't gotten larger, so still a decreasing trend overall.
Greg, just remind us, what is the average cost of council, cost of debt to council this financial year?
Oh, that's the 3.9%.
3.9.
Yeah, that's yes at the bottom of that table.
Yeah, what was that? What's our budgeted figure?
4.10%.
Yeah.
Internal borrowing rate.
Good. Councillor Makatamini.
Yeah, thank you through the chair. The missing number there is, it could be added into there is, what do we think the year-end total debt is going to be? We've got a year-end budgeted balance as against the LGP, but that's not relevant. Where will we sit? We're at 158 million now. Where are we forecast to be at the end of June?
Yeah, through Mr. Chair, that's something I can look into adding. I'm not too sure off the top of my head right now, but it's something that could be.
Yeah. That LTP one.
That's right, it's per the LTP.
Yeah, but it's not really. It's instantly not relevant as soon as you start the new year. Yeah.
No, understood. Yeah, I can look into that.
Greg, through you, Mr. Chair. So the financial, the debt here up to the 28th of the 2nd, that's for 8 months, the 8-month period, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. $481,375 a month we're paying in interest.
Yeah, so we divide it by 12 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions of Greg? If not, do we have a mover? Councillor McCrosty, seconded. Councillor Cotton, all in favour? Against? Carried. Page 91, recommendations to go into committee. I will move. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Catherwood, all in favour? Against? Carried. And we will adjourn for a couple of minutes just while we cut the link and reconvene. Open meeting, councillor McCroskey, councillor Smith, all in favour? Becky?
Yes, we're back.
So we're just,
We're going to close, sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. so just to close the meeting, closing karakia, te whakaria, te tapu, kia wātini Aotearoa, kia turuku whakataha ai, kia turuku whakatahi ai, pumi e, taiki e. Thank you, everybody, for your contribution this morning. Steve?
Yes,